Good day, viewers, and welcome to today's Sportwarp show. I'm your host, Ashwin Berry, updating you on the latest sports news. With that, let's get into the hit list. Former Springbok rugby coach Nick Mallett was the guest of honor at the Chat and Biertjie Bowl evening at the Windhoek Country Club on Thursday evening, presented by King Price, Castle Lager and Republican. As always, Chat and Biertjie Bowl presenters Jonathan and Potty delivered an enjoyable mix of rugby talk, analysis and humor. Now, Namibia will be hosting its very first official adventure race during the end of May next year. This will be our second story now. The race directors Heidi and Stefan Muller were in the capital this week to launch this exciting news. Let's check out the Biertjie and Ball before we look at this story.
Everyone ages, and unfortunately that's how it goes. But great player, and he'll be remembered for a very long time. Nick, your thoughts? It's too good. It's too good. Yeah. I'm going to move him after this shot. It's very unusual to have a guy who's had 15 years of international rugby. He started out as a 20 years. Sounds like Potty. Stop laughing.
Sorry, what's
it? I say you know again, then I go back. But starting as a 19-year-old, I think it was, and going finishing at 35. And his statistics came out. He's won 75% of the games that he's played for the Springboks. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's right up there with the top 4 or 5 Springboks of all time, and he's had the longest career of anyone else. So extraordinary. He can play fly-off, he can play centre, he could play fullback. I'll never forget the drops, those couple of drop goals he hit against New Zealand. He kicked a 60-metre penalty in a game to take, to win us the Test match. He's an extraordinary talent, and we were talking about a period when he was out of the mix of it. It was, I think, in Hanny Kamara's time, in fact, and he wasn't considered to be one of the leaders. And I think he felt, he felt a little bit insulted by that. He'd already gone, he won the World Cup in 2007, 2011 he'd been there, 2015 he wasn't being considered as a leader and wasn't in the leadership group, and I think he stood back. He just decided, okay, well, he's going to step out of it. And it was a great pity because with Jean getting injured, I always thought inside centre was probably his best position. And he got slower and slower as his career got on. But he could have played tight end prop, I think, in the last.
So now that utility back aspect, how important is that becoming? And it's something that South Africa actually, we put our hand on first and started that.
Yeah. No, we've been very innovative in that. If you think that South Africa have got the best type 5 in the world, without any doubt, and we've got the second best type 5 in the world. If you look at this weekend, you've got, Oxenshire is injured, but you've got Thomas du Toit and Marx and Koch on the bench, and you've got Erge Snyman and Peter Steph du Toit and Fourie on Dion Fourie on the flank. I mean, those 6 players would play for Australia to start, they would play for England to start, and yet they come off the bench after 40-50 minutes for South Africa. Now imagine if you're playing against them, and you're having a cup time against Kitsoff, and you think, okay, he's gone off, thank God for that. On comes Thomas the Tank, he comes on and stuffs you up even more. So Rassie and Jacques, they've coached together, so I always like to talk about them as a pair. They are a fantastic combination, and what they've worked out brilliantly is that South Africa's strength is really in our tight forwards, and therefore why not double up? Why not make it twice as hard for the opposition? But in order to do that, you've got to have, if you go 6-2, you've got to have the scrum half who can play scrum half and wing. So you often find that the guy will go on there, will be a runner, will be who's the guy, Williams, was it, on Saturday? Who's got tremendous pace and fantastic scrum half, but he can come on, if a wing gets injured, he could come on and play wing. Then you need a player who can play centre, flower, fullback. And in Francois Steyn, we had that. Now Damien Willemse covers all those boxes. It's a bit unlucky for him because he's starting now at 10, which is giving him an opportunity to see whether he's going to be the second best to Pollard, and or will Marnie Lubbock be the second best to Pollard going in. But he is our trump card. He covers the fullback, Billy, he covers at outside centre or at inside centre, Damien. And then you can use that's the 6-2 split. So South Africa have been very innovative. And what World Rugby don't understand is if they don't change the laws, it'll be to our advantage all the time, because we do have the most powerful scrum. We absolutely annihilate Australia in the scrum. But going back to many tests, I'll go back to the semi-final against Wales. And in the first 10 minutes of that game, we got 2 scrum penalties straight away. We just dominated it. In the final against England, we got 6 and 3 free kicks from scrums. So we completely dominated. In the first game against New Zealand, we probably should have got 6 penalties against New Zealand. And we didn't, because that French refereed that game really poorly. But we got him again. We got him again in the semi-final and the final, and he learned his lesson, you know. So we actually got the penalties. But unless they change the laws, we're going to double shove scrums, because that gives us a penalty. If you get a penalty, it gives you such an advantage now in rugby. You can kick it out and get a line out, have an attacking line out with a peel around the front, a peel around the back, a driving maul off the top and hit Damien or Esther Hazen at centre. And you can cause so much chaos, you know, from line-outs. And so if we can get penalties from set pieces, it's a massive advantage to South Africa. And we're the only side that does it. England don't do it. France have got the ability to do it because they've got a massive pack of forwards. But because of their psyche and their culture, they want to play running rugby more than dominate. Because of our culture, we like donoring us. We like stuffing us. And so if Racing tells them, go on, I like it.
An exciting and entertaining night indeed. Now, as we said, the very first official adventure race will be during the end of May next year in Namibia. This is an international adventure race, and race directors Heidi and Stephen Muller were in the capital this week to launch this exciting news.
In a very exciting development for Namibia, the country is set to be included for the first time as the host to an adventure race next year. Adventure racing is the ultimate race of human endurance. Teams of 4 athletes race non-stop, day and night, through distances of up to 800 kilometers. Each course is a unique journey, including stages of mountain biking, trail running, kayaking, and rope work, among others. Teams must navigate using maps and compasses through remote wilderness checkpoints. Battle not only other teams, but extreme fatigue, sleep deprivation, and unpredictable weather. Although most of the groundwork and organizing of the first uniquely Namibian route must still be done, organizers have announced that the country's first adventure race will be held during May of next year. Race directors Heidi and Stefan Muller are in Windhoek this week and launched the event to invited potential sponsors, participants, and contributors.
So adventure racing has been around for 50 years. On this scale of adventure racing, there's many smaller races that we organize with other people out of the world to get the people into the sport. But on the expedition level, what we're talking about tonight is mixed teams of 4. So that's a unique part of the sport, that all the teams at least have a lady in it. And if you are privileged to be at the finish line in 8 months or 9 months time, you'll see that actually at the end, in most teams, the ladies are actually the strongest. It's quite a phenomenon to see how strong those top girls are. So it's a navigation with a normal 1 to 50,000 scale map. The route is secret, nobody knows it. You only actually see the route as you go along to make it equal for all countries and all people whose English is not their first language, to have a fair advantage. So nothing is marked on a route of 400 or 500 kilometers where this route will be. There's maybe 30 or 40 checkpoints. Checkpoint is just a board against some prominent feature that you have to record. And it's a non-stop event. So there's 2 different levels of racing. There's qualifiers, which I will tell you about now, which is the winner. The requirement is that the winning team takes 72 hours, so that's 3 days. and then the last team will take anything between 6 and 7 days. And in the World Champs that we're presenting at the end of the year, that time goes up to 100 hours. That's how you can follow it. Every 3 minutes, those dots update. And on that tracking system, I think the biggest in South Africa, we have got 80,000 people at the same time logged onto that, which is a rugby stadium. So you can't really see that slide so much, but on a World Champs, we can get over 1 million. On a race like this, we get over 500,000 spectators. And most of the viewership, if you can read this thing. The stats, they probably log on 3 to 4 times a day, and their viewing time is about 12 to 15 minutes. So whichever logo is on the tracking system, if your logo is on there somewhere, they follow that. So that's you don't get the sport that goes on for 7 days with that amount of spectators constantly watching it. There is no sport like that. And that is the opportunity for anybody that partners with us. So we have a 12-year history of Expedition Africa. We started in the Western Cape, we moved to the Eastern Cape, then we visited the Berg in 2013. And then Transkei, the Wild Coast was next. Then we travelled out of the country twice. We've done Swaziland in 2015 and 2022 Lesotho, which was supposed to be 2020, but with the COVID we had to skip a year or two there. Western Cape in 2016. Actually in 2017 in the Eastern Cape and Koga, it's actually the same area that in the same resort we're doing our World Champs. It's actually never, after any race that we ever had, the people always say, when are we coming back? But mostly we can't come back because the route is done. But in a country like Namibia, as you know, there's plenty of routes. So let's see what the future holds for us.
Certainly looking forward to seeing that epic race unfold. In the Pipeline is up next after the break. Now, Namibian scrum half Damian Stevens was a member of the Rugby World Cup squads to Japan in 2015 and 2019 has been one of the foreign-based professionals who joined up with the current national training camp. Stevens told us the scrum halves in the Namibian squad are keeping each other on their toes.
Right, so we are with Damian Stevens, obviously Namibian scrum half in the last 2 World Cups. So Damian, you just recently joined the squad from your professional team in the USA. So tell us about how your past season went.
Yeah, so this year we ended 4th in our group, so which is pretty better than last year. And looking into next year, we'll obviously probably want to do way better than we did this year.
Okay, so for you personally, how do you feel your season went?
No, it's like ups and downs, but inconsistency in our team. But I mean, as we train more, build the pressure more on other teams, it should go much better.
Okay, so we obviously hope to maybe see more Namibian players recruited into similar type of leagues.
Yeah.
So the team from that Larumalan and Jan Konradi played for, they won the league.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, what do you think made the difference for their team? What did you say contributed to their success?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Leroux and Vian on winning the competition, and then yeah, they arrived yesterday, so I'll probably have a chat with them and see what they did different this year for them to win the competition, and hopefully I can take it back to my team.
Okay, so you guys are obviously preparing for a tour to Uruguay. You've been there before, so what are your expectations of this tour coming up?
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be cold as it was the previous year, this time of the year, but great preparation games for us to play, preparing for the World Cup, and obviously looking to put it on the field that we've been training.
Okay, so you are basically the #1 scrum half for Namibia at the moment. So in the squad with the other scrum halves, what do you feel the interaction is like, and what each one brings to the table?
Yeah, firstly, I won't say I'm the first scrum. I'm the number one choice scrum half. There's a lot of pressure on every scrum half in the group. But in the group of scrum halves, we get out here today, we work with each other, we try and improve each other. So, which is very good, having that group of scrum halves competing against each other and putting each other under pressure.
All right, all the best.
Thank you.
Well, there's only one way we know how to talk about rugby over here, and it's in Le Rugby Joe. So we'll be continuing the chat as we focus on France World Cup 2023. See you soon.
Get more value with the biggest deals at WB. Get 3 times 2 liter Fanta for $50. 250-gram Ricoffee for just $41.99. 2 kilogram Real Good Mixed Chicken for $86.99. 2 kilogram Quality Select Rice for $29.99. Plus 2 kilogram Sky Washing Powder for just $39.99. You always get more at Burman Brock. We care.
All right, let's get into Le Rugby Joel as Brian Munango speaks to Jacques Burger and Warren Brossenhan, who talk about Namibia's chances at the upcoming World Cup.
You are our biggest legend. I mean, represented us at the World Cup very well. Quickly run me through it. What are your thoughts on this year's World Cup? What are your thoughts on the national team that's ready for the World Cup this year?
Well, I'm very excited. I think over the last couple of World Cups, we've showed that we've improved every year. So I'm hoping we're going in the right direction this year as well. There's going to be a couple of new guys in the squad. A couple of old boys have retired and stepped away. New coaching group. So I mean, I'm gonna be right behind the boys. I'm going to support them well. And yeah, hoping we can get our first victory. World Cups are not easy. It's the best of the best. So. When we're playing, I think I suggest everybody and I encourage everybody get out there, support the boys, get behind them, and make sure we get that first win.
Okay. Well, with the likes of John Smith, Skalk Brits, guys who've won the World Cup before, how important is it, do you think, to have them fly down here and to come just give our young ones just the insights of what rugby is all about? How important is it, do you think, for the development of rugby in Namibia?
Massive exposure. I mean, these guys are guys who've traveled the world, played in the best teams, won World Cups, you know, absolute legends. And to have them here with our kids, and again, like I said earlier, kids seeing that these are just normal blokes. These are just people like their dads and their uncles, and they're out here and putting back into the youngsters and showing them that what the game's about. I think the message that we keep referring to is what rugby added to my life is the values of friendship and respect for each other. Yeah, your passion, humility, all those things, and hopefully we can bring those through. And I'm sure these boys that came here today, SA Legends, certainly show the kids that that's the values they live by as well.
Remember, I mean, you're a small nation. You're pulling from a very small population, so it's difficult sometimes for you to compete. You've had some really good players. I mean, we've had Jacques Burger here today. He's an absolute legend of world rugby, and you've produced a lot of good rugby players through the years. You know, so I would love to see it improving. I'd love to see it getting better and becoming more competitive. I think you're going to the World Cup, which is great, and that's going to be very, very exciting.
What I'm thinking. Let's go get rich from that dying old. We need to keep an eye on Beatrice and Dick. They're trying to take our money.
What is it that Dan used to say?
If you're scared of dying, don't be afraid to live.
No one's born bad. Like anything, it takes practice.
What's all the commotion? There's a robbery across the street.
What? I am Puss in Boots.
What's a Puss in Boots?
It's me!
Frank has built something truly special. What he's created out here, it's a different way, a better way.
What are we doing?
Changing the world.
It takes heart and all the soul. A head stuck in the game. It takes every bone in your body all the blood in your veins. And then more blood. And more sweat. More tears. All your hopes and your dreams. It takes conquering fears. It's late nights and weekends. 6 to 6s, 9 to 5s. It takes sacrifice and suffering every moment of our lives. It takes kick after kick. Being kicked when you're down. It takes fighting for hours for inches of ground. It takes every last line out. Every last second spent. It takes absolute devotion. It takes 100%.
Well, that brings us to the end of Le Rugby Joe, and my tenure with you for today ends right now. But I leave you in very capable hands, the hands of one Ari Hogard, as he takes us globe-trotting with the latest international sport. See you.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news. There's still excitement for this coming weekend. It's the finals of Wimbledon. It's the men's final on Sunday, the women's final on Saturday. And good news for Africa is that Ons Jabeur of Tunisia, she's through to the final in the women's side of the draw. And it's Ons Jabeur that beat Aryna Sabalenka in the semi-finals by 6-7. 6-4 and 6-3 to advance to a second consecutive final of Wimbledon. She also played in the 2022 final. She then played against Elena Rybakina that beat Ons Jabeur in the final. But this year in the quarterfinals, it was Ons Jabeur that beat Elena Rybakina. So she's fine. She's through to a second final at Wimbledon. In the final, she will play against Marketa Vondrousova. She is from the Czech Republic, and it's Vondrousova that beat Elena Svitolina. She's from the Ukraine by 6-3 and 6-3. Vondrousova also played in the 2019 French Open final, but that was, of course, on clay, and now it's her first final in a major on the grass. In the men's division, it is very exciting semi-finals that's going to be played to determine who plays in the final on Sunday. It is the number 1, 2 and 3 seeds in the men's draw. All three of them they through to the semi-final. It is firstly number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz. He will play against number 3 seed Daniil Medvedev. And then it is number 2 seed, that is defending champion Novak Djokovic. He plays against Yannick Sinner. Novak Djokovic, he is playing to tie the record of Roger Federer. Roger Federer has won 8 singles titles. At the moment, Novak Djokovic with 7, and he's trying to emulate that record of Roger Federer. On to some cycling news. It is the Tour de France that continue. It was stage 12, and stage 12 won by Ion Izagirre. He is from Spain, and he had a breakaway attack 31 kilometers from the end, and he managed to be 58 seconds clear of second place Mathieu Bourgodeau. He is from France, so it's Ion Izagirre. He won the stage 12 in 3 hours, 51 minutes and 42 seconds. In third position, Matteo Jorgensen of the United States. General classifications, it's still Jonas Vingegaard leading with a combined time of 50 hours, 30 minutes and 22 seconds. And behind him, 17 seconds behind him, is Tadej Pogačar. 17 seconds behind, like I said, and Jay Hindley is in third position, 2 minutes and 40 seconds behind the leader. Two very important stages coming up over the weekend. It is stage 14 on Saturday. That will be 152 kilometers, and then Sunday 179 kilometers. It's significant because both of them in the mountains, so that will in a big way determine who wins this year's Tour de France. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is golf news. It is the Scottish Open being played currently on the men's side of World Golf. That's played at the Renaissance Club, and it is leading up to the British Open that's going to be played next week, Thursday to Sunday. And that tournament will be played at Royal Liverpool Golf Course. So many of the top players in the world currently playing in the Scottish Open. Many of the top players in the world. And it is after the first round, it was Bai Yong-an. He is from South Korea. He played brilliantly 9 under par, and that was a score of 61 in the first round. Rory McIlroy also doing well. He came in with a -6 round of 64, and it is also a South African that's doing well in the top 10 at the moment. It is Oliver Becker. He's from Stellenbosch in the Cape, and he played 4 under par in his first round. Some of the higher profile names I can mention: Scotty Scheffler of United States. He's in the top 3 in the world. He played 2 under par in his first round. And then Victor Hovland, he had a difficult day. He was 3 over par. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day and sport weekend. And we talk again international sport again on Monday. Goodbye.